Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be cutting some agatized, fossilized cycads. The one I'm interested in cutting today is this one. I'm going to polish it as well. I'm going to put all of them on the vibratory lap. I'm going to cut these now. I'm going to cut them on the big saw. I am not going to show me cutting them. I'm just going to cut them. I'll show you the end result and then we'll get right to polishing. So let's go cut these. Okay, so I made those cuts. The blade is really dull. These cuts aren't great. There's lots of saw marks in them, so it's going to be a challenge polishing. But that's all I got, so I'm going to have to work with it. This piece here had so many fractures in it, it just didn't turn out very well. This one also has some fractures in it. Don't know if I'll bother polishing it, although it does have a nice little agate. I think there's amethyst in that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might change the blade and try to take another sliver off. I don't know. I might try that because that one's interesting. It's a nice big piece. This one was the knobby one, and I cut a piece off and I saw some amethyst there, so I cut it in the middle and it just turned into white quartz with some agate details, but it's pretty nice. So I'm going to polish that one. I'll polish both sides of that. I'll polish that and that. And this is the one that I really wanted to cut today and polish. This one has excellent details. You can see, look at these agate swirls there. So I just gently sliced a sliver off the side. Still, you can see some saw marks in there, so got some work to do on the polishing, but I'm up for the challenge. So let's go try to polish these up. We're back home in the shop now, and I've thought about this, and I think the way I want to polish these is I want to do them on the vibratory flat lap, because I haven't done a video on the vibratory flat lap showing multiple small pieces. If you remember, we did the big giant piece of petrified wood. I'll put a link to that video up here that shows how I first used this this Covington 10-inch vibratory flat lap. So I'm gonna try 3 pieces. I can't fit all 4 pieces on there because they just won't fit. So it's only 10-inch. So in order to get all 3 pieces on there, I have to. So there's a couple issues. I could leave the Covington ring in, and I could put the pieces on just individually like this. The problem with this is that when they go, they'll hit each other and they'll damage the rock. They'll chip. They'll just get in there and they'll ricochet off each other. It'd be like bumper cars. So I don't want that. In order to fit 3 pieces on there, I have to take the ring out, and I had to individually put rubber rings around each piece. In order to do that and make them all fit, I've come up with this system where I have 2 big pieces in here like this, and then my 3rd piece, I can't get a full ring around it, but what I did was I cut 1 ring in half and we did this. So that should do the job. We're gonna try it out. Might have to make some adjustments along the way, but let's see how this goes. I'm hoping. I just want to have the good turning action. I want to see some turning. So if we can't get the turning, that means there's too much volume. There's not enough room for movement in here. So let's try it out. I'll get the first grit. First stage grit's going to be 4670 grit, and we'll go from there. See how it runs. So let's try it. So here I've just marked my pieces with some marker, my little spiderweb pattern I put on. That's just to monitor the progress of the coarse stage grinding, just to make sure the rock's getting ground down. So I'm ready to go. Got the grit on. And the pan seems pretty centered and level, So I'm gonna give this a shot. So I'm getting good turning action, so that's a good sign. Grit looks like it's distributing kind of evenly, so we'll take a look once the slurry develops. Slurry hasn't been developed yet, so we'll see how well the pan is centered after that. I'm going to use my high-tech Diamond Flat Lap water delivery system to, if you remember in the last video when I did the big piece of petrified wood, I was going to get an IV drip. Well, that didn't work out so well. So I'm going to use my high-tech Diamond Flat Lap drip system, and I'm just going to use that to wet the pan. I'm not going to do it until the slurry builds up though. So far so good. So it's been about an hour, and the slurry is coming along, but it's taking a little longer. It didn't take this long with the one big piece of petrified wood from the last video. I think it's because there's less surface area on the pan, and it's just not grinding the grit down as fast. So it is turning to a slurry, but it's taking a little slower. I added a little more grit. Might have too much water in there. Anyway, I haven't turned my drip on yet because there's no splashing. It's looking good so far. So it's just taking a little longer for the slurry to form. It's happening, but it's just a little slow. So we'll let it go. It's been a couple hours, and we got some great turning motion still. The only thing I'll say with the turning motion is this one and this one are turning as it's turning, so they're spinning as they're circulating the dish. This one here isn't. It's just going around same position, so it's not actually turning as it's rotating. But it should be okay. And there's a little bit of foam building up, but I'm not concerned about that either. The slurry's looking better, and I turned the drip on now that I see the slurry's there, so we'll let this run. I'm expecting this probably to take, well, I mean, it's going to take as long as it takes. It's going to take as long as the marker takes to come off, right? So we'll check it periodically. I'll probably, in about another 3 hours or so, I'll check it. But I'll come down and probably check it every hour, just make sure it's not drying up and that's enough drip. That's how fast the drip's coming out right now. You know, I got enough water in there. That should last probably a couple hours. So yeah, we'll keep monitoring it. 4 hours in, and we got a nice slurry going now. Got a little bit of a splashing situation, so I may put my box around it, or I just may keep the drip going. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's not too bad yet. So everything's looking pretty good. We'll check back here in a little bit. We're about 5 hours in now, and I had to put up my splash guard, and I just pulled one of the pieces off, and you can see there's where we are with the marker. So center looks like it needs to be ground down quite a bit. This piece has a ways to go, and this was one of the better pieces out of the three. So I'll check these two, and then we'll see how they are, and we'll likely keep these going. This piece is looking pretty good. Still got a ways to go. There's a big dent right there. You can see it in the light. So that one's got a little bit of ways to go. So probably a few more hours on that one. This one too, but we got a big groove in this one. A couple big grooves. So we're gonna let this one go down a little farther too. Okay, so it's been 12 hours. I'm packing this in for the night. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to carry this on again in the morning. I'm still going to be going with the 4070 grit in the morning because some of these aren't done. Here's the first piece. You can see it's got a ways to go. You can see that big old indentation right in the middle, and there's a bit of saw mark there. So I probably could have done some grinding on the flat lap, the high-tech diamond flat lap for this, to get it more level in the coarse stage, but I wanted to do this and show, you know, the process on the vibratory flat lap. So how long it actually takes when you have just a vibratory flat lap. So this is going to take a while still. This rock's actually ready. You can see all the markers gone. Everything's pretty flat. But I'm going to leave that on there just a little bit longer. I'm really liking the patterns that I'm seeing on there. It's a really nice specimen. It's going to be a nice shelf piece. And this one's got a little bit to go. Even though the marker's gone, you can see that little indentation right there. I got to get rid of that. So this one's got a ways to go as well. So we'll pick this up tomorrow, again, continuing on with the coarse stage, 40-70 grit. See you tomorrow. All right, good morning, I'm back. So I'm gonna continue on with the stage 1 coarse. Piece is ready, I've charged the pan, water's in there, so I'm gonna stick them on now and let them run for probably the majority of today as well. Lots of deep grooves in these, so. This one's pretty much ready to go. I'm just gonna stick it on again, and there are a couple of spots which, you know, could get down a little lower, so I'm going to do that. Anyway, let's get these started again. And they're off. Got my splash guard in place. We'll check back in an hour. It's been about 10 hours on day 2, and still got that groove in there. So this is obviously a long piece to get done here. This material is also very hard, so it is going to take a while still. This one's almost done, just a little tiny groove in there. This one is done, but I'm still running it through just because it keeps extra weight on the pan. And there is a couple of maybe cracks I like to get through there, but anyway, I'm going to recharge the pan and probably put her on for another 4 hours and then call it a day. Still coarse stage 1. Okay, so we have finished the coarse stage with the 46-70 grit. We finally got everything flat, so there was quite a deep groove in this one, and this is the one that was holding up the process, but we got it all flat now. This one was finished first, and this one also had a deep little notch that we got out, so they're all totally flat, which is what we want to move on to the next stage, which will be the 120-220 grit. We're going to do it in this pan, this same pan. I scrubbed it out very well. It's important that you scrub out the pan if you're using the same pan. I use this pan for my coarse 1 and medium coarse 2, so the 46-70 and then the 120-220, I use this pan. And then I switch over to a new pan when I start with my aluminum oxide grits and polishing. So I scrubbed this one out pretty good. I scrubbed out all the pieces, all the grit's gone, and we're going to switch now to the 120-220. So I'm going to set that up and get her started. That stage 1 course took about 30 hours. Now, a lot of you will think, oh, that's a long time, but when I cut these rocks, I was using a very dull blade, as you saw earlier in the video. So it caused a lot of deep grooves, and it was a serrated blade as well. So it just ate these pieces up. You'd really want to do this with a slab saw. I don't have a slab saw at the moment. I'm working on that. I gotta work with what I got. So yeah, I had to run this way longer than probably what is normal. I would say if you had this cut with a slab saw, you had a nice, you know, flat surface, you probably get away with like 6 to 8 hours, which is what they recommend for course 1. So from now on, the rest of the stages should go pretty normal. I'm going to run this stage for probably 6 hours, and it should be good. I'm going to mark my little spiderweb pattern with my marker on the pieces. I should also mention as well that my drip system is working really well. I did not have to really check on this that much. You got to get it just the right drip. You can see I got it set perfect right now to what I want. It's dripping about 1 drip every 12 seconds, which seems to be perfect. It doesn't dry up and it doesn't keep too much water in the pan, so it's a perfect amount right now. So I'm going to keep that going. It'll probably change if you have different rocks in here, but for this rock combo with the pan, it's working. So the 30 hours, yeah, it was long, but I really didn't have to check on it that much. And you know, we're in a COVID lockdown right now, so it's a perfect time to do that. But like I said, in the future, cutting these with a slab saw is probably gonna be better. So anyway, let's get these started in stage 2. Okay, I just checked. It's been 6 hours. All the marker is gone. It's feeling nice and smooth. So these are done this stage, I believe. So I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to get the next pan ready for the next stage, which is 500 grit aluminum oxide. So I'm going to go clean these up, and then we'll get started on the next stage, stage 3. Here's what the pieces are looking like after the 500 grit aluminum oxide. Getting a little bit of a glare. So now on to the 1200 grit. I got the pan charged. I'm going to put them in, and this is going to run for 6 hours. Okay, so it's been 6 hours. Action slowed down on the pan. I'm going to pull them off now, and I'm going to clean them up, and we're going to get ready for final polish. So I'm going to do that now. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so we're back, and I've cleaned off the rocks. This is after stage 4, the 1200 grit aluminum oxide, and I have to say, it's okay. It's not the best shine that I've seen come off this stage, so I'm hoping the polish does an amazing job. So we're gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna run it for 8 hours, and let's see how it goes. I'm gonna charge a pan. So right now I've got my new pan, my polishing pad, plus the new ring I bought. This is my polishing ring. We're only gonna be able to fit 2 stones on at a time, so we're going to pick these two, and then we'll do this one later. And I've already charged the pan a bit, but I got another scoop to put in and some water, and then we'll get her going. Not sure I explained this before, but the reason why we put the black ring around one of the pieces is so that when they hit each other, it doesn't chip or break the pieces. If I didn't have that ring on there, they'd be smashing against each other, and there would be chipping involved, and it would be pretty violent, so we don't want that. So that's why we put the rubber ring around there. And we now have the rubber ring around the outside so that the pieces aren't smashing against the metal. So I'm going to let this run for 8 hours, and we'll check back in a bit. Okay, these have been on for 8 hours, and that concludes our polishing of these rocks. So let's pull them off and see what they look like. Okay, so we're done polishing those cycads, and here are the results. So this was the One of my favorite ones that we've ever collected. You can see the agate details in this. It's got a pretty good shine on it. One thing I noticed with these pieces is that because they're smaller, just on the outside edge, they didn't take as good a polish as the middle, and I think that has to do with the weight. These were lighter pieces. For these pieces, you have to have enough weight for the surface area. So these pieces are smaller. If you remember the past video we did with the bigger piece, it was heavy, and it got a really great polish all the way around, all across the surface. Nice even polish. This one's not as even. This is better than these two though. I'll still keep this. This is like I said, this is still pretty great. You can see reflection. See the trees there. So this is still a great polish. Happy with that. These pieces, however, because these are actually lighter than that one, they didn't take as good of a polish on the edges. You could see that little bit of, just a little bit of fading right here on the edge. But it's still pretty good. You can still see the good reflection in there. There's the sun. So it still did pretty good. But in the future on my smaller pieces, I'm gonna have to weight them down a little more. I'll have to figure out a way to make them heavier so that the surface gets polished evenly. And here's the last piece. I really like this piece. It's got some really good details on the growth of the tree. Oh, my neighbors are out. It's a nice day. Lots of fun being had. So that's the end of the video, and I hope you guys liked seeing the vibrating flat lap in action. I would say that flat lap is more suited for larger, heavier pieces. Smaller pieces need to be weighted down. Probably have to put in a little bit of extra weight on top of them somehow in order to get that nice even polish. But still happy. And it gets me polishing 3 pieces at once, where, you know, if you're a busy person and you don't really have time to sit at a flat lap and polish rocks all night, and you just want something you can walk away from, this is a great option. So I still love this piece. This will be a top shelf collection piece here. I just love the agate details in this. And that crystal quartz center is awesome. This could be one of the better Cycads in our collection. We'll probably give away one of these two in an upcoming giveaway. So stay tuned for that. As always, take care of yourself, be safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.